So you finally got your home under contract, but it's not the safe zone. Did you know that 14 to 15% of deals never make it to the closing table? Here's the reasons why.
First and most common reason a deal collapses is financing issues. So that could be many things. It could be a loss of a job, but it could also be something as simple as opening up a credit card during your contract time. What does that mean? You went to Crate and Barrel and you were super excited to get a new couch for your new home. They offer 20% off if you open up a credit card. So you go ahead and sign a new credit card, but now your debt to loan ratio has changed. Now you have a new line of credit, and now your lender has to redo the entire approval process all over again. And now you may no longer qualify for a home just because you wanted that perfect couch for your new home. Yeah, and that is such a small but deadly decision when it comes to your financing. Other things may come up and the closing may take longer than you expected. So interest rates may change during that time, and your rate lock, which is what you do when you get under contract, you lock the rate that is current, may expire. And then what if the interest rates went up and now your monthly payments are higher and you can no longer afford the home? So that's the number one reason why deals die after getting under contract.
Another financial reason why your home might not make it to the closing table is an appraisal gap. So if you're taking out a mortgage when you're purchasing your home, the bank will require an appraisal of that property. They will send a qualified professional called an appraiser who studies for many hours to be able to give that professional advice. And they basically decide on what they feel the house is worth based on the comparable homes that recently sold within the last 6 months within a small radius of space. They'll look at the size, the number of bedrooms, if there's a basement, if there's a garage, the property size, and that's how they ultimately come up with the number. But that might not be the same number as the sales price. So often we will have an appraisal gap, and sometimes the appraisal is lower than the sales price. At that point, things tend to get tense because the seller doesn't want to lower the price, and sometimes the buyer can't afford to cover that difference in between, right? So it's really important to keep a cool head and to keep your eye on the prize and ultimately come up to a solution that will be acceptable to both parties.
Yep, and that's where negotiations pop in. Absolutely. Another major deal killer is an inspection. So an inspection is done on your behalf as a buyer. It's done by you with a professional. And it basically allows you to see the house in more depth than what you saw during a showing. The inspector inspects all parts of the home and comes up with a list of items that really need to be taken care of or nice to have things. And sometimes those things can be big. It could be the foundation is cracking, or it could be the roof is leaking, or it could be the plumbing is rusty and needs to be replaced. When major issues come up, we start talking about credits that sellers sometimes do not want to give, or things that the buyer is not willing to take on as a project after the home is purchased. So there's always a contingency of inspection when it comes to purchasing a home, and sometimes that inspection could kill the deal.
Another reason why homes don't make it to the closing table could be title disputes. So one of the things that you will have to do when you're going through the home purchase process is obtain a title insurance. And that basically certifies that your ownership comes with no previous liens, all the errors have been corrected, there's no boundary disputes, everything is clean and clear, and you will be a rightful owner. It does come with a title insurance, and sometimes small errors do delay closing and things do come up, but working with a very strong title company is really important at this stage, and we work with some really best of the best in the industry, and we highly recommend doing the same, because this is something that could absolutely just take you out.
And sometimes that lien doesn't actually have to do anything with the house. We had a home that we were selling this year, and the home seller had unpaid child support payments that he had to take care of before we could close, because those payments were the lien on the home.
Wow.
Yeah. And the one thing that no one really talks about is contractual mistakes. Sometimes when you work with a new agent, they do not work on creating a timeline for you that you need to adhere to. And you may miss a really important deadline of maybe having your inspection request in or your deposit going in, and that will actually make the contract void. Of course, there's resolutions to that, but working with someone who's experienced, who's knowledgeable, and who knows what needs to get done in order to close your home is super important. So make sure you work with someone who you can trust.
So in reality, problems come up all the time, anything from appraisal issues to title disputes. And ultimately, it's very important to have a very, very strong team that supports you and walks with you throughout the transactions. But also, when buyers understand these risks ahead of time, they can navigate confidently, knowing that there's a solution for every problem.
If you love this content and you want more of videos like this, subscribe and follow us for more.